Did you know that you can't make a difference for God unless you're consistently going to church? Yeah, I didn't know that either, but that's what some preacher said recently. Welcome to another episode of talking through the ridiculous things that Christians say and what you could say instead. Now, let's address this statement. You cannot make a difference in the world for God without consistently going to church. What I think the person was trying to say is that it is important to go to church. However, our words have meanings. And just because you meant something by what you said does not mean that what you said meant what you meant. There is a difference between saying church is important, you should go to church, I'd like to see you in church more frequently, any of those things. There's a difference between those statements, and you can't make a difference in the world without going to church. Here's why. Jesus. Yeah. He never once went to church. Not once. There were no churches back then. He is the foundation of our churches. Church didn't exist 2,000 years ago. Now, yes, there were assemblies of people gathered together to worship Yahweh. At that time, they were called synagogues. And we only have one instance of Jesus going to a synagogue. And when he does, he kind of disrupts the service by taking a passage kind of out of context and upsetting the entire congregation. But we don't have record of his consistently going to those. Now, he very well may have, but we don't know that. Either way, that is not the same thing as church for several reasons. So are you going to say that Jesus did not make a difference in the world? What about everybody who ever lived before 30 to 50 AD when these churches started forming? What do you do about that? Did they not make a difference in the world? And even if you're saying make a difference for God, what about the heroes of the faith from the entirety of the Tanakh, the Old Testament? What about the people that the author of Hebrews thought made a difference in the world for God? Those people never went to a church. And back then, in their lifetimes, there wasn't even synagogues. There was just the temple, and that wasn't something you were required to go to every week. So this is a completely bullcrap argument. It is an unhealthy and toxic way to tell people that you want them to come to church. Now, I understand if you are a pastor, a preacher, an evangelist, whatever, you want people to be in church because, well, that's what your job is, and you take it seriously and you think it's helpful and it could help them. That's all well and good. That's okay. It is even okay to encourage people to come to church. It's okay to ask them to come out to stuff, but don't say things that are patently inaccurate and just disrespectful to thousands of years of Yahweh followers. And let's not even to talk about the people who can't go to church, maybe because there isn't one in their area, maybe because they live in a part of the world that is persecuted, maybe because they have some sickness where they can't get out of the house and be around all of those people. Especially in a post-COVID world, it is not a good thing to be guilting people into coming to church. Guilt is never a good motivator because it will eventually fall apart. And this is something that I am hoping falls apart quickly, because I am tired of hearing people say that you can't make a difference for God unless you consistently go to church. Now, if you want to tell people to go to church, that's fine. Say that instead. Say, I would love for you to be a part of our community here, but do not try to make some sort of statement about what worth they can have for God if they do not show up in your doors every time they're open. This is something that we have to stop saying right now.